Phil, let's talk about the new Avatar set, the cards that are playable in Legacy Magic the Gathering and Avatar. What do you think?
Yeah, I think let's talk about the four bending mechanics because I think the bending mechanics and lesson. I think that there's some caveats with the stuff that we're going to talk about today because we know that lessons, at least in Avatar, there is no learn. The learn lesson mechanic of like learn being able to tutor for lessons out of your sideboard. I mean, it's if you look at what's coming up next year for 2026, we are going back to Strixhaven. And so it's pretty
So
clear
they'll
to me
probably
that
be
like the
learned.
lesson stuff
Yeah.
is a plant to just get more stuff for learn
Yeah.
cards that are going
Okay.
to come out. Caveating that, like we have pulled some lessons that we're going to talk about here that I think are good as they currently stand. But as we get more, like it's clear from the first time we went to Strixhaven, they were like, yeah, lessons are just going to be like overcosted, underpowered effects because the notion is that like, oh, you're a freshman, you don't know what major you're going to major in yet, and so you're just like, doing broad studies to try and like
Major in
figure out
beer
what you
pong.
like, and you're bad at all of it. Whereas like it's clear here they've taken like old cards, just tacked lesson onto it, and now it's just like strictly better versions of those old cards. They're continuing their design philosophy of what if we just take old things and then redesign them exactly the same way, but make them more powerful, like for nothing. Like we are just power creeping all of it. With new lessons coming out in Strixhaven as our second go there, I anticipate us getting a lot of good like learn just tacked on to powerful things. Like they're just gonna for no additional mana, they're just gonna tack learn onto something. And the learn lesson mechanic, because it's a wish mechanic, really is open ended. Like if learn means one of a possible 80 different things, then the permutations of what each learn card could actually represent in a particular build for problems that you're looking to solve or threats that you're trying to present is really, really vast and really, really deep. I mean, I really enjoy the learn lesson mechanic because of all of the different deck building that it allows you to do. In sorcery, it's coming to the game as collection. It's a deep, enriched mechanic. So,
Yeah. Well, let's just
we're gonna
start with the creatures, and when these bendings come up, we'll talk about them.
Black Friday is early this year. Use code BF25 for a 5% discount and free worldwide shipping on all orders over $300 from our online store, shop.3for1trading.com. The promotion starts on Wednesday, November 5th at 9 a.m. Central Time and ends on Wednesday, November 12th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That's code BF25 for a 5% discount and free worldwide shipping on all orders over $300. Shop.3for1trading.com.
So obviously we have Water Whip here, but we're going to go to our first creature here, Badger Mole Cub. That is 2 mana for a 1 and a green for a 2/2 Badger Mole. When this creature enters Earthbend 1, whenever you tap a creature for a mana, add an additional green mana. What does Earthbend do, Phil?
Well, first off, you know that this card is obviously busted because it's a mythic with creature types that nobody gives a fuck about.
Yeah, it must be good.
So you know when they do that they're just going to break some types here. So Earthbend, I think, is the most powerful of the bending mechanics. And again, who knew that something breaking would be way more powerful because of fetch lands? I think Earthbending is the most powerful of the mechanic because it's the one that I feel like they believed in the least, because there's the caveat on it. Earthbend is when you Earthbend with the number, so you Earthbend N, and then you put N counters on target land, and that land puts that many +1/+1 counters in it and becomes a creature.
Okay.
So you're animating your lands.
Animate land.
But then, if that land were to be destroyed, if an Earthbent land were to be destroyed, it just comes back to the battlefield tapped.
Doesn't it also, if it would be destroyed or exiled?
Yeah. If the land gets removed, essentially they were
yeah. So I mean, it's important for
this,
Legacy because that means that if you do Earthbend and someone swords it, you still get your land.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's like so Earthbended lands are like sort of impervious to removal, other than that they like get the creature, the counters of it removed and no longer a creature. But the other side of that is like, let's say you Earthbend
nasty man.
That fetch will then come back to play tapped.
I see where you're going with that.
Let's say you Earthbend something and then crop rotate it. Well, that Earthbent land will still come back to play tapped, and you'll get those ETB triggers again. So it's like, okay, I'll Earthbend my Bazooka Bog to like then bog you again because I can just sack the bog. It'll come back, get something else. Like
you could Earthbend your Bazooka Bog, attack with your Bazooka Bog, crop rotate your Bojuka Bog, and then exile their graveyard again.
To me, the powerful part of Earthbending is the fact that they didn't believe in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I agree. Okay.
The idea of Earthbending is we want to animate lands. That's what Earthbending does. It animates your lands. That's super cool. But the actual part of it is just the part where they didn't want Commander players to feel bad, which is, oh, you blew up my animated land that I animated for free off of this additional effect. Yeah. But it's like, okay, well, the actual busted part of it is it lets you re-trigger all or re-buy or rampant growth a bunch of times for free. And that's where I go, okay, like Earthbend is the most powerful thing. We're going to have to keep eyes on it. It's certainly powerful. Badger Mole is powerful for that reason.
Sure. Yeah.
But like, I think that like, I will never not be able to see Earthbend as like, it is powerful because they didn't believe in it.
Sure. All right. Well, let's check out the next one here. Firebending Student. For 1 in a red, you have Prowess Firebending X, where X is this creature's power. For a 1/2 with Prowess. So we've got like a Swift Spear situation here. What's Firebending?
So Firebending is whenever it attacks, you get X red. So it's Firebending N, and you get N red mana, whenever you attack, and that mana does not empty through combat. Like as you would go through combat, typically if you added mana and then you would like, okay, go to blockers, that mana would empty as steps end. The red mana in Firebending will last through combat. So you can then do things, whether that's sink that mana into something, cast spells during combat, what have you, but it's only red mana and it is equal to whatever it is. So this is Firebending Student is 1 in red for a 1/2. Oh, by the way, yeah, Badger Mole is obviously busted. Like, it's very good. It's just gonna.
It says this mana it attacks. This mana lasts until end of combat.
Yeah, so it doesn't lose as steps and phases end. So you attack, and then you have that mana, and then if you're like, okay, go to blocks, you don't lose that mana.
But once combat is over, the mana is gone.
Once you go to your second main phase, the mana empties.
Yeah. Important to know.
For the entire phase of combat, you have that mana, which matters if you're like, okay, I'm going to attack, get this mana, go to blocks, and then like whatever the aftermath of that is, then be like, okay, now I'm going to use this mana for whatever I'm going to use it on.
Okay.
So I wanted to bring up Firebending Student here in that, like, I don't know what this might do, but this does, like, if you were leaning in to be like, how do we make Firebending work? Firebending Student with Prowess is like, okay, untap with this, you cast whatever you want, pump the power or whatever, but then in the middle of combat, you can just like do what is essentially like infect style stuff with like a bunch of additional red that you're like, just, if you go, okay, I'm going to pump this thing somehow, then go to fire. I'm going to make 5 mana off of the attack, and then I'm going to use that 5 mana to like Seething Song into some instant speed combo.
Man, or like Bloodlust is plus 4 mana right there.
It would be plus 6 because you would get plus
4.
Well,
I'm saying like you use 2, and then you create 6 because you get the Prowess and you get the 1 power, right?
Yeah.
That's something. It's something to think about. All right, let's move on to Gran-Gran. Whenever Gran-Gran becomes tapped, draw a card and discard a card. Non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, as long as there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. Phil, we got a looter.
So we got a looter. This is the classic. Orcish Bowmaster exists in our world, so we have to just tack on the second power for no reason that would never exist otherwise. Like
toughness.
I don't know why Gran-Gran has 2 toughness. I would think that like
she's a tough old lady, dude.
Yeah, dude, tough old lady. Like Gran-Gran can just
Gran-Gran
survive
can
fire
block
magic.
pikemen and live.
Yeah, dude. Like it's like, oh, you're trying to attack with your X1? Nah, Gran-Gran stonewalls you.
This might be the new card that Reanimator has to play after they get rid of Tamiyo and Entomb on Monday.
Let us hope. So I wanted to pull up Gran-Gran. To nod to Orcish Bowmasters just compelling everything to be 1/2s, and I hate it. And then also how this is suggesting that like as we get more lessons over the course of 2026, just a 1 mana looter that then also like cheapens all of your stuff
makes
on
stuff
the back
cheap,
end.
Yeah.
It's an enabler. It's card filtering, and then it also can help make your spells cost less if you get to the point where there's like enough playable lessons that you would otherwise want to play. So will this see play? It's contextual, but for 1 blue for a looter for blue is not the worst.
Sure. All right. Katara, Waterbending Master, for a 1/3 for 1 blue, legendary creature, human, warrior, ally. Whenever you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, you get an experience counter. Whenever Katara attacks, you may draw a card for each experience counter you have. If you do, discard a card. Okay.
So I've seen people be really high on this card as what is essentially going to be the next Psychic Frog type thing.
Sure. Doesn't fly, but like, yeah, it's a 1/3.
It doesn't fly, but if you cast any number of spells on your opponent's turn, the experience counters stay. So like as you get it, like if they fight over the first
those
copy
are
of
your
Katara,
experience counters, not the experience counters on Katara.
right? So like you will for the entirety of the game, you get your experience counters, and there's not any playable way to remove those counters.
Correct. Yeah.
So like as Katana attacks, it's not like if you attack, you get the cards, right? Like as you've done the thing, there's no blocking. Blocking's not a mechanic in this game. So if you attack and you have however many experience counters, and then you draw and then you loot. That loot is also pretty good as like the other way for like they were talking about it as Psychic Frog in the way where it's like that.
This is a massive amount of card advantage if you just like play the game, right? If you daze, brainstorm, force of will, you're just netting cards because like the first one puts you into a situation where you're looting, right? You do have to cast one spell to like net cards to like do the thing. But the second one, you're already up a card every time. And you're filling your graveyard, so there's shenanigans that you can deal with that. But if you cast like 3 spells and this thing stays on the board and you don't win, like I don't know what you're doing. Right. It might just be too slow to win at that point. Like that would be the answer, but like I don't know, man. Netting 2 cards a turn is bonkers.
It's so many cards now. Like it's not growing in size in the way that Psychic Frog could.
Sure.
So, but like
who cares? You'll play a Murktide region in a couple of turns.
Yeah, Psychic Frog also didn't even last 6 months. So like okay, but like the other side of this, I want to nod to Orcus Bowmaster just being on their mind in design, being terrible for everyone involved. You may draw a card for each one. They're giving you the out to not walk into the Bowmaster. Like, man, just get rid of fucking Bowmaster so you don't have to do all these workarounds.
Yep. All right, my Scornful Striker, 2/2 for 1 in a black. First strike, human, noble, ally. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, they lose 2 life. Okay. Yeah.
So at least it's symmetrical,
Oh, it is a player. Yeah. You better be on that black stompy deck.
Happy that it's at least symmetrical. So like, this is in the Thalia space.
Yeah.
But it's not a 2/1, it's a 2/2. So, but instead of the stuff costing more, it's just dealing damage. So obviously it wants to get aggressive. But
I mean, Death and Taxes has already moved into black for Belmark. What is it? Overlord of the Belmark. Why not play this too?
Overlord of the Belmark and Orcus Bowmaster, my guy.
Yeah, of course. Also Orcus Bowmaster.
It's weird. It's weird. Orcus Bowmaster sees less play than he's ever seen, and yet has all of this influence.
Yep. Momo, Playful Pet, legendary creature, lemur, ally, bat, not a lemur, a lemur. Very important. We made that distinction back in the Ice Age, and we have to be very careful about it nowadays. We got a 1/1 here, Phil. We got a 1/1. Flying Vigilance. When Momo leaves the battlefield, choose 1, create a food token, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, or scry 2.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is actually enough of a thing to get in for, but with Caracas in the like Thalia, just shenanigan blink decks, I really despise the style of those decks for Thalia.
I hate having to play against those decks. I'm like, come on, man. just play regular Days Wasteland Magic.
I despise the play pattern of Thalia not being gated and like just doing like it's just like it's like, hey, build the snowball. Obviously, snowball. I very much despise it, but it is also very powerful. And I think Momo Playful Pet as a 1-drop for the utility of making your stuff bigger or like scrying to like filter your draw in what would otherwise like be just trying to go for volume off of like Belmark and also now that the deck has moved into like Quantum Riddler, so it wants to be in blue and white. And so just like having a 1-drop play that you can get value off of your Thalia like immediately. But then even if you were to go like, okay, turn 1 Caracas, turn 2, play this thing, turn 2. Now, if you wanted to spend that mana to scry 2, you could.
Yeah.
Like that's not like if you're in a matchup where the games are actually going to go past turn 2, which is not in this format, but maybe post ban. Like I could see a world where like that's not nothing. Like being able to just be like, okay, Caracas represents. I'm going to scry 2 every turn with this card.
And this is actually, I joked about it being a 1/1, but it is a nod to Orcish Bowmasters. It's like you actually do want this to die sometimes.
Yeah. Like I'm sort of like that very specific play pattern of being able to go Caracas, play this, and then now for the rest of the game, this Caracas just represents me scrying 2 always. Is like kind of interesting. And then if they remove it, you still get the scry 2. So like,
and they wasted a card.
Yeah, just like that, and also like that.
Like
it's flying. It's flying in vigilance, and so there's also with all of that, it means that this thing can block everything, right? So like, I'm just gonna stand in front of your Murktide, bounce this scry 2, put it back into play, and like now we're just like in that holding pattern. But I'm gonna filter my draw all the way through. It's cool and incidental, and I feel like sort of tied exactly to Caracas. So you have to be in a space that you want to be the Caracas.
Interesting.
Deck. But like as we get more and more of like these like legend type things where you're sort of attracted to Caracas anyway as also a way to just like remove a legend from the table, I have high hopes for Momo Playful Pet in that space.
Yeah.
And when we leave the battlefield too, like I'm the guy who wants some, like I only look at creatures that are compatible with Terminus, and if I play this and Terminus and then you get to scry 2 or whatever, like that's also, I'm not upset about that.
Yeah. We're entering that part of the show, Phil, where I do 2 things. One, I remind people about our Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/EternalDurdles. You get all this content ad-free on our Patreon. So there's that, but we also do a little bit of extra content on our Patreon as well. For the low price of $5, you're getting ad-free content. You're getting the extra Durdles 15-minute extra episode every week. And you're getting a of additional pre-modern content that we really go into all the details of all of our deck techs and stuff like that. So now is a great time to support Eternal Durdles. But I want to talk about the second part of my favorite part of the show, Phil. The part where I say, I'm going to mispronounce the next word. I'm sure of it. I'm positive. So what do we got? Sokka?
Dude, honestly, I have no idea because I don't know
Sokka,
these characters.
Bold Boomeranger? Is that Sokka? Is it Sokka? Is it Sokka?
I would guess Sokka too. It might be Sokka, but I would guess Sokka.
Yeah, Bold Boomeranger. So anyhow, 1/1 for a green, blue, and a red. Legendary creature, human warrior ally. When Sokka enters, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Sokka.
So an artifact or lesson spell.
Or lesson spell. Sorry, I missed that part.
Yeah. This is like this being a filter for this stuff. Like I don't know if you're going to necessarily want to build around for the -1 counters, but
this is for your Fatal Lootings 9 through 12 when they ban Entomb. You've already got careful study, and you've got Fatal Looting, but you need 4 more of this effect. You're already in those colors.
This is a Faithless Looting that you can reanimate that also pitches to Force of Will. You know,
there you go.
I think like the discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. Like we've seen that how powerful the best part of the Kiki Jiki, what's the enchantment? Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Mirror Breaker.
Yeah, we know how Fable of the Mirror, like the powerful parts of Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Obviously, it's a card that makes a card that makes a card. Then you discard cards and draw cards, and then you get a card that like casts.
Yeah, why not?
Repeats the same things of the other cards, and like it's 1 card that represents 6 rectangles. But one of the most powerful part of that is the filter,
the loot. Yeah. The Cabbage Merchant is a card that you can play in this set. 2 and a green for a legendary creature, human citizen. I can't believe the Cabbage Merchant is legendary. There's a guy. He's the one. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, create a food token. Whenever an opponent deals combat damage to you, sacrifice a food token. And then tap 2 untap food tokens to create a mana of any color.
So it's not food tokens, it's foods. There are cards that are food that are not tokens.
Why not? Sure, of course. You're not wrong.
I've seen like this become like a huge thing in the EDH sphere where everybody's like, oh man, like all of your opponents
cardboard rectangles.
They're all going to be casting non-creature spells all the time. This is just going to produce so many rectangles, and then you're going to tap those rectangles for mana, and it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So like people are really high on that. This is also, I think, like, I don't know, like because of all that talk, and also it's a Green Sun Zenith target, and it also has a whenever clause with the fact that it can make and fix mana. Like this is color fixing on top of it. Like if you're doing anything in the food related space to like generate a bunch of mana, like I don't know, there's
the cabbage merchant, people. You're sleeping on it.
There's enough powerful words on this card of whenever something happens, add 1 mana of any color. Like there's enough pieces on here. 3 mana is just definitely too slow for Legacy at the moment because you can just play Nadu.
Yeah, unless you want to slam this with Ancient Tomb.
But I also am trying to like look at a bunch of cards through the space of One Ring, Nadu, Entomb, all that stuff actually getting banned, and then like what the world looks like. Because if none of those cards get banned, then there's no reason to look at any new cards ever. So like having to look at it through this lens, and I could see Cabbage Merchant showing up as like
Phil,
something as part
you
of the
told me that blocking wasn't a thing in this game, but here we have Ty Lee Chi blocker.
Yeah, fortunately the Chi blocker makes it so you can't block.
2/1 and it's 2 and a blue for a human performer ally, Flash Prowess. When Ty Lee enters, tap up to 1 target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step for as long as you control Ty Lee. What?
It's not next untap step. It just doesn't untap. So as long as this thing taps down a creature, and as long as you have Ty Lee on the table, that creature just doesn't untap.
You're done.
The reason that I pulled this out is it's Flash, right? Yes, it's a 2/1, so it does die to Bowmaster, but it has prowess, so you can survive those positions.
Flash dance.
But I think that like what this does is against a lot of the creatures that are seeing play these days, like assuming Tameo gets banned. If you're looking at Murktide or you're looking at Barrowgoyf, like all those cards, like they're just undercosted statted dudes. And so like if Ty Lee just comes in and like locks that down,
now you have to like spend mana to kill my guy. Yeah,
it's also a thing where it's like you really like if you're not playing Swords to Plowshares or you don't have a way to like exile the Archon of Cruelty, like Archon of Cruelty being in your graveyard is not where being in their graveyard is not where you want it. If they just have it on the board and it can't actually attack to do anything,
stuck. Yeah.
That's way better for you than trying to like make like sacrifice it or whatever so they can reanimate it again. So there's enough going on. 3 mana, too much. Maybe this is totally unplayable, but like the context of the environment of like where you would want this card is strong enough right now that I'd be like, oh, maybe people will try it out.
Yeah. Wan Shi Tong, all knowing. That's your bird, right?
So there's 2 versions of this card that we're going to talk about.
Okay, well let's talk about this one first. Yeah, let's talk about this one first. This one is 5 mana. That is 3 and 2 blue for a bird spirit. 4/4 flying. When Wan Shi Tong enters, target non-land permanent's owner puts it into their library second from the bottom or on the top.
Second from the top or on the bottom?
On the bottom. Same thing.
It's not the same thing. It's very different.
Second from the bottom or on the top. Second from the top or on the... Yeah, sorry. My dyslexia kicked in real hard there. Whenever 1 or more cards are put into your library from anywhere, create 2 bird token, 2 1/1 colorless spirit tokens. With this token can't block or be blocked by non-spirit creatures.
So it means that in combat it can only interact with spirits. But it also says whenever 1 or more cards are put into a library from anywhere. So if you put something into your opponent's library, if your opponent puts something into their library, if you put something into your own library, this is a 5 mana 4/4. It is not playable in anybody's type of deck except for mine. This is actually the card I'm most excited to test.
Yeah,
it's obviously great with Terminus, because it costs way too much mana. We're in a format that ostensibly ends on turn 2 against all the top decks. All the things that I actively want to do as the Mystic Sanctuary guy. Mystic Sanctuary makes 2 1/1s. I love that. This thing gets rid of the One Ring and Karn and all that stuff, makes 2 1/1s. If I brainstorm, it makes 2 1/1s. If you brainstorm, it makes 2 1/1s.
I love that. Okay. I see where you're going with this. This is like, so far best card in the set.
It does all of the like. Unfortunately, it's a creature, and so it doesn't work with Mystic Sanctuary. But Mystic Sanctuary does work with this card. It can make 1/1s, which I do enjoy very much.
I love that.
And so
you
like
just have to have it in play somehow.
But this type of effect, the text whenever 1 or more cards are put into a library from anywhere is on this card and 1 other card that's unplayable. But if they start looking into this space as something to care about, whenever 1 or more cards are put into a library from anywhere, as just like a text that we're going to put on a bunch of different types of effects as a thing to care about, because they always print in every set the limited card that's like 4 mana with whatever ability that is target player puts the thing on the top or bottom of their library. That's in every set. every set has that effect. So if they're like, oh, why don't we do a thing where we care about that? Like there are cards that care about cards going back into the library from anywhere. I do that a lot. I love playing Unexpectedly Absent. I love all that shit. So like having a card that like rewards you for doing that type of stuff is really exciting, that they might start to branch into that further in the next couple of years.
All right. Wan Shi Tong Librarian for X blue, Flash, Vigilance, Flying. When this enters, put a +1/+1 counter, put X +1/+1 counters on them, then draw half X rounded down. Whenever an opponent searches, put a +1/+1 counter on this and draw a card. So this is like a Hydroid Krasis for its +1/+1 counters.
So it's got the Hydroid Krasis stuff, and then it's got the Archivist of Ogma text. I've seen people like when this was first spoiled, people were really high on it. I don't see it, and I don't see it because
it doesn't stop them from doing anything. It's just like giving you a little value.
Yeah, it doesn't stop anybody from doing anything. And also, like if you spend 3 mana on this, you don't draw a card. You don't draw a card until you spend 4 mana on it. And I get that it has flash, but like, okay, you hold up 4 mana, you flash this in for 4 mana. It didn't get dazed. Okay, somehow it didn't get dazed. So now you draw a card because you draw half X cards rounded down. So you spend 2 on X, so you draw a card. Okay, so it's 4 mana and it's a 2/2. It's 4 mana. It's a 3/3 that drew a card. Cool. And then whenever your opponent searches their library, it gets bigger and you draw another card. But it doesn't stop them from searching their library.
Yeah, it doesn't do it.
Like, if you are not interested in this card as a 2 mana 1/1 Vigilance Flyer Flash that then gets bigger and draws a card whenever they search their library.
At best, it's going to be like I think your worst case scenario for this card is normally going to be a 2/2 that drew you a card. Like you're going to get somebody with a fetch land, right?
Now, granted, this is a flying Vigilant and it's in blue, an Archivist of Ogma, which says whenever your opponent searches, it has flash and it's a 2/2, and it says whenever your opponent searches their library, you gain a life and draw a card. The first time your opponent searches their library, if this came down on 2, it is a 2/2 that drew you a card. So it's the same text as Archivist of Ogma. The difference is this thing has flying and Vigilance.
Yeah.
Because they both have flash.
Oh, they both have flash.
Okay, so even if that's a slight upgrade, what is this tangoing with in combat that you're like, yeah, this would be good enough? I was really surprised.
It gets around Orcish Bowmaster. It still lives no matter what you do with it with an Orcish Bowmaster, right?
What do you mean? No, if this comes down and they haven't searched their library, if you just flashed it in on 2.
I'm saying like you play this in while they're searching the library, and then it gets +1/+1, right? Yes. And so then they deal 1 damage to it, but like it doesn't matter because it'd be a 2 to it.
Yeah, but it's another one of those things is where it's like, okay, I got you when you went to fetch.
Yeah.
And now I've drawn a card and done a thing, but like
it's not good enough. Yeah.
The cards that reward you for when your opponents do something, as opposed to disrupting your opponent from doing whatever they do,
exactly,
have a history of never being good enough.
Just not good enough.
In times of financial uncertainty, how can you stay on track? Call someone who's invested in your success. Nick Ropp, your Edward Jones financial advisor and certified financial planner, is here to help you. He will work to build a complete picture of your financial life, including your unique goals and passions, so he can help you achieve what's most important to you. Call Nick Ropp at 314-377-9524 or email nicholas.ropp@edwardjones.com to schedule an appointment today. That's 314-377-9524 or email nicholas@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones member, SIPC.
Maybe we'll eat our words, though. Phil, Boomerang Basics. This doesn't Boomerang Basic lands?
So Boomerang Basics, which unfortunately it can't bounce basic lands, so that's a flavor fail. But it's Boomerang Basics for a blue. It's a sorcery. That's a lesson. It's return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you control that permanent, draw a card. This is just a straight upgrade to Void Snare, which is sometime in Burning Wish sideboards.
Yeah.
Because
sometimes you need a sorcery.
What's up?
Sometimes you need a sorcery.
We need a sorcery off of Burning Wish, but the added text of if you control that permanent, draw card means that like you can also just use the cantrip.
Yep. And it's a lesson, and we've already talked about how lessons could be good soon.
Yeah, so this is just strictly better Void Snare, so I think that's like the space where it'll be in, is like if you were interested in Void Snare, you're just going to upgrade it to this card.
Black Day. Wait, is it Day of Black Sun? Won't you come? All right. So Day of Black Sun is X, black, sorcery. Each creature with mana value X or less loses all abilities until end turn, then destroy those creatures.
Obviously spending a ton of mana isn't good.
No.
But when this card first came out, we were talking about how it's the equivalent of Wrath of the Skies to deal with like Urza Saga tokens. So this is just black. Get rid of all of the Urza Saga tokens, or any tokens really, any creature tokens rather. So like as a sideboard card for people that want that type of effect, like you now
Any
have
creature
that type of
tokens
effect.
that aren't a copy of some other thing. You know, like if somebody's got what's it called? Like it dies anyhow, but like a Mirror Breaker token actually would still have its casting cost.
Yeah, it's like also there's it's 3 mana. Get rid of all 1 CMC creatures or less on the table as well. So like the scaling isn't too bad if you're catching a 2-for-1 with this
Yeah,
thing.
especially if you're like, you know, playing against Delver or something, and they've got like Delver and you know, DRC. Okay, Earth.
It's a quick way to catch up to against like what's Corey Steel Cutter tokens. Like if you fall too far behind, like there is the go wide token strategies of the format that this thing would be good against.
Earthbending lesson, Earthbend 4. Or it's a lesson for 4 mana. It's a sorcery.
So it's pretty basic, but it is a lesson. So it's one of those cards where it's like, here's just like a really
maybe you need a 4/4.
Like your good win condition out of the board off of your lesson cards.
Yeah, here's your Nettletooth Djinn.
Yeah, and then as we talked about before, like the strongest part of Earthbending is the fact that they didn't believe in it, and so like anything with Earthbend at all, I think is like within range because that clause on it just makes it way more powerful than I think they intended to be.
Avalanche, which is contender for best named card in the set. 2 and a green lesson, Earthbend X, where X is the number of force you control. And it also has flashback for 6 mana. And we talked about Earthbend already. We don't really have to keep beating a dead horse.
I said that this is also a lesson, and I think the difference of like equal to the number of forests you control, that sucks. No, Yavimaya exists in this format, so all of your lands are forests, and so this might just be like the cheaper version if you're playing a Yavimaya to like have access to a thing to like, you know, get cheap Earthbending going. Or where, you know, like pretty sufficient creature and then, you know, rebuild that way. I expect Earthbend to really like expand what like the land style decks and stuff can do because they have this option and they're interested in sort of re-triggering a bunch of their lands if they wanted to. Like if you Earthbend, like on the cheap, if you were to Earthbend either half of your Merit Lage combo, like, and then it coming back into play as opposed to both going off the board, it means that like, oh, well, even if you deal with the Merit Lage the first time, you're already rebuilt immediately.
Yeah. Not to mention just getting in there for a little bit extra damage, right? All right. Spirit Water Revival for 1 and 2 blue sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may Waterbend 6, draw 2 cards. If that spell's additional cost was paid, instead, shuffle your graveyard into your library, draw 7 cards. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Exile Spirit Water Revival. So it is a time twister with Waterbend 6. Phil, what's Waterbend do?
So it's interesting that Katara, Waterbending Master, didn't have Waterbend, but here we are. Waterbend, I think, is the least creative of the of the bends. I think Airbending is kind of cool. I think Earthbending is like really powerful, albeit in a way that they sort of trap themselves into. Waterbending is just like a convoke or an improvise where you can tap creatures and or artifacts to pay for a colorless part of whatever the Waterbend is. So it's turn your rectangle sideways to like pay for costs.
Help your artifacts and creatures can help pay for this.
Yeah, exactly. And
can you
I think
pay
like,
the 6 in regular mana though?
You can, yes. You can, like it's Waterbend is like in addition. My understanding is it's mana, creatures, or artifacts. So just literally turn your square sideways to help. Like you just as long as you have more stuff, you can Waterbend.
Fair enough. Draw 2 cards is good by itself, but draw 9 cards is pretty good.
So it's draw 7. It's an instead draw 7 cards.
Oh, instead, okay. So I mean,
instead shuffle, yeah. But the part of this that I think I don't foresee Waterbend coming into play very much, except outside of the emissary artifact decks that just like go emissary on one, spam their hand, and then
then you can do the thing.
Big Waterbend effects. I dislike that because I think emissary just like incentivizes the absolute most rancid kind of gameplay that's like uninteresting for all players involved, and this is like a big payoff for those decks. Like all the Waterbending is. I find Waterbending to be really uninspired. And so I don't really have much more to say on it than that, but the effects are powerful. So they're powerful, and I can see that they already have a home.
Water Whip.
Water Whip is the same thing.
Water Whip is Waterbend 5 for 2 mana. It's a sorcery lesson. Return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hand. draw 2 cards.
So
But
it's
this
blue,
doesn't have an additional cost. You have to just pay this.
Blue, sorcery lesson. As an additional cost, you do have to Waterbend 5, which means that you have to turn 5 additional card rectangles sideways. But then you bounce 2 creatures and draw 2 cards. It's a big swing if you can do it. And the type of deck that can do it is the one that just like spams their hand off of the emissary on turn 1.
Sure. It's a limit. This is a limited bomb if you're playing limited, but like it is basically like
and it's also
fun trick. Otherwise,
it's also really good against it's return 2 target creatures. So like the deck that's playing Thought Monitors that also is just like trying to spam can like then use this to like bounce your thing, pick up my Thought Monitor, and like you know continue turning that way.
Makes sense.
So it's pretty powerful.
Yep. All right. Abandon attachments. 1 and an is it hybrid mana lesson. You may draw a card if you do draw 2. You may discard a card if you do draw 2 cards. So it's just a whatever those
it's
effects
a
are.
Tormenting Voice. It's an instant lesson Tormenting Voice, but it's not this card is not as an additional cost. So if it gets countered, it's not like you're down the card. That's pro and con. If you just like want to put the card in your graveyard, there's just better ways to do that. But this is, I put this one on here because it's a lesson and there's going to be lesson cards that matter. It's an enabler in that it does dump cards to the graveyard if you want it that way. But also, it's the first time this effect, you may discard a card if you like a Tormenting Voice. It's the first time this effect has ever been printed in straight blue. Like you cast this for 1 in a blue. That has never existed in the game before as an instant. So it is a unique thing in a new part of the color pie.
All right. We're exploring new areas like we will in that Star Trek set that's coming up. Airbending lesson, Phil, is at 2 and a white for Airbend. Target non-land permanent, draw a card. So Airbend is exile it. While it's exiled, its owner may cast it for 2 rather than pay its mana cost. So it kind of like does what is that like Spellbinder situation, right?
Yeah. So it exiles something off the board and then it's exiled and then whoever owns it can just cast 2 to replay it at any time that you still have to abide by timing restrictions and all that.
Sure.
But this replaces itself. It's another lesson, and if lessons are going to matter at any point,
sometimes lessons matter. Yeah. And not to mention if time restrictions matter, right? You can hit a creature to make it not be out of block, and they can't cast it back because it's not their turn. Yeah.
If blocking were part of this game, I think that like the other thing I like about it is exile target non-land permanent, and then they may pay 2. But you can do that in spots where, like, I have done like unexpectedly absent your One Ring. And then your One Ring remembers last known information. So if you tap this but don't have a burden counter on it and somehow can get rid of the One Ring in response to them tapping it, it'll see that it has 0 burden counters with no place for the first one, so they won't draw a card. Now, granted, they'll get to draw a card on the next turn, but like the fact that this can just sort of like flicker something out of play for a turn in a world where like sometimes all you need is a turn. What I also like is this is Airbending. I think is just going to be a lot more powerful in like flickering your own stuff. Like again, like what they in the Commander Sphere, blue and white. Like the thing that blue and white gets to do is flicker stuff. That's really the only space they'll let blue and white have. And so like you getting to airbend your own shit to rebuy it for cheap.
It is a thing. Yep. It is. You could do it with your Quantum Sphinx, right?
Yeah, you can warp it in and then airbend it.
Yep. You could just pay 3 mana to warp it in, and you've paid 2 mana and 3 mana, and you basically have cast a Sphinx, but somehow
you've drawn all these cards.
Yeah.
Eternal Durdles is proud to be sponsored by Moxfield.com. Moxfield is the best deck building website on the internet. You can find all of my and Phil's decks in links below, including decks from this episode. And if you do, you'll be directly supporting the channel.
Energybending. This is just 2 mana. It's 2 colorless. It's an instant lesson that says lands you control gain all basic types until end turn. Phil, I kind of dig this because I don't know that I'll ever play this card, but fuck you, Blood Moon. Fuck you.
Yeah. So this is the card that has like a couple of different applications that are kind of interesting. For 2 generic mana, you get an instant lesson, and then it turns all of your lands into all basic land types, and then you get to draw cards. So it does cantrip. It's an instant speed cantrip. But being able to turn all of your lands into all basic land types, there's been combos with that before.
Sure.
When things have cared about that.
Then you can cast this and cast what is it, Valakut or something, right?
My understanding is if you played this after a Magus of the Moon is on the table, it means that all of your mountains now are also all basic land
Correct.
types and can
Yeah.
tap for any mana.
Until
end of turn, but that can give you the window that you needed to either remove the Magus
kill
or get
that
what you needed
goddamn
in
Magus.
from under the
Of
Magus.
course.
And the fact that it's colorless means that like it's colorless and it's a lesson. So if you had something that could reach into your sideboard, it's possible that this is like the thing that gives you the reprieve from the Blood Moon effects for a turn.
Yeah.
That you could just like dip into your sideboard to grab. So like this being a one of if there were lessons that you did care about, but like now it becomes something as like if that were to answer your Magus of the Moon style opponent, that you can reach into your sideboard for this as like another tool that you potentially have access to. And the fact that it cantrips means that the floor on it is it just cycles for 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is pretty sweet. You could also do a thing where, you know, if you're playing this to some capacity and your opponent's not respecting a certain kind of thing, you get to turn on that mana and then hit them with something, you know, like, oh, I have 3 islands, like you're not playing around Sword Splashers, and then I just turn this on and swords you off my island, like, you know, that's deep, like that's probably not going to happen, it's probably not good enough, but like there's incidental applications with lesson that like means I could see this card showing up. And the art, this is actually art that's sick.
It is pretty rad. Origin of Metal Bending for 1 and a green instant. Choose 1, destroy target artifact or enchantment, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains indestructible until end of turn. I mean, not a lot to say here. This is a utility spell.
It's naturalized as a lesson. So again, anything that you have that's a lesson that lets you dip, like some games you just need a naturalize, and this just being like at naturalizes rate in your sideboard that you can wish for off of any learn card. Like as we
And who knows, maybe you need it to save your creature. You know, also.
Yeah, maybe, who knows. But like I put it here as like they just upgraded Naturalize again as a thing that you can wish for now in at any point off of learn cards, and that's going to be like I think where the strength of it lies.
Redirect Lightning for 1 red. It's a lesson, an instant. As additional cost, pay 5 life or 2 mana. Change the target of spell or ability with a single target. Okay.
So we talked about this before, but this is also like something that works with Painter. It's also in red. Like the powerful part of this is like if you pay 5, that 5 in the early game isn't necessarily the worst in that like you being able to be like, okay, I'm going to redirect your wasteland to your land, and you just this is even though you pay 5 life off of red, like I'm just gonna Armageddon you. That's kind of cool. There's this can fight over in counter wars in the same way that Red Blast can, right? Like
I mean, this is like an even crazier stifle if that happens, right? Like you just like a double stifle them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like 5 life is no joke, but like in the spots where it's just a full-on blowout
when
and
it's good,
it's not the relevant thing, like you will feel that blowout. And this
for sure,
being able to change the target of spell or ability is really what matters. Like if let's say your Painter opponent is like, all right, I'm going to grindstone you, and you're like, no, I'm going to redirect lightning. You're going to grindstone yourself, and now you're dead.
Does Painter hit all color, like both opponents?
Painter just says all things.
All things. Like, okay, I never like thought about it like that, but that's sick.
If you suss your opponents on redirect lightning and they have red mana up, you better have a counterspell because they can just redirect the activation to you and kill you.
Good. Okay.
I also like change the target of spell or ability. There's like some things where like if you have the mana, like there's a bunch of like very narrow things too that like you don't often think about like the changing of an ability, like changing the equip ability, changing like what Felia flickers, changing what like your Bowmaster is actually going to target itself.
Yeah. Okay. Solstice Revelations. 2 in a red for an instant lesson. Exile from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the spell's value is less than the number of mountains you control. If you don't cast that card this way, put it into your hand, and it has flashback 7. I mean, this is just to draw your next card and possibly play it for free.
It is not. I think that this card is we've seen this kind of text before. I don't know if this one is actually good enough to show up, but this is the kind of card where you go, this card tells me what my deck is supposed to look like, and then I can guarantee that I'm going to cast the thing exactly as I want to cast.
Full-on mountains. You're playing mono mountains.
This card is Cascade. So you're like, okay, I'm going to play, Ancient Tomb and then or Mountain Ancient Tomb, and then on that turn cast this thing. I'm going to hit whatever the one thing my deck does that can win the game.
Sure, that makes
I have
sense.
no idea what that looks like, but it is literally like the card that
Yeah,
goes,
it's Cascade.
I'm going to show you exactly the card I want to cast, and then it's going to do that thing, and it's like another glass cannon belcher type, like, here's what the deck does. I don't know what exists that would end the game in that type of position, but like we've seen those types of glass cannon, Mississippi River horseshit.
Yeah.
decks
This does
exist before.
exile the other cards. It does. I don't see anywhere it says put those cards back, so they could hit hard on this.
Yeah.
and,
I
like,
assume
not
that
have
like,
anything
whatever
else
it
to
is
do.
like you do it, and then you know, like, I don't know, what's the thing where it's like you get to 2 mountains and you like mulligan hard, and you put the Thassa's Oracle on the bottom of your deck off the mulligan, and then you cast this thing with 2 mountains, and then you just cast the Thassa's Oracle, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's it.
It's super
All right.
glass cannon, but it's like exactly the type of thing where it's like, wow, that took me literally 30 seconds to figure out
Yes.
as like a glass cannon.
Some dork will do that. Zuko's exile 5 mana, 5 colorless mana. No, or just 5 generic mana, I should say. Instant lesson. Exile target artifact, creature, enchantment, or enchantment. Its controller creates a clue. Yeah, I mean, this is it's a lesson that you get to do exile stuff on.
It's an instant lesson that I could see as like if you wanted like your colorless big mana decks. It's like, yeah, exile your ring, exile your creature,
Sure.
exile whatever for 5
Or
mana.
hey,
I guess they get the clue, but like,
play it to get rid of a blood moon.
yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, it hits both Magus and Blood Moon for generic mana.
Yep. Chakra Medallion Meditation.
Chakra
Chakra
Meditation.
Meditation. 2 and a blue. Enchantment. This enchantment enters. Return up to 1 instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, draw a spell, then discard a card unless there are 3 or more lessons in your graveyard. I know why you love this, because you just like returning shit from your graveyard to your hand.
It also durdles a bit. Yeah, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card, then discard a card unless there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. So you do have to, like, this is only looting unless you're playing some amount of lessons. But the buy-in on this, like 3 mana, it's too much. The games end on turn 2 in this format. But if, post-ban, if this is 3 mana, regrow a force or regrow a removal spell in the mid to late game, and then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, which is a powerful line of text, draw a card.
Yeah,
and then
it's a huge line.
if you have 3 or more lessons in your graveyard, you don't have to discard. So if there are any amount of number of good lessons that they print over the next 6 months, where you're like, yeah, I would incidentally want these effects anyway, I'll just choose the lesson effects to then upgrade this effect, which then goes every time I cast an instant or sorcery spell, I draw a card. That's super crazy powerful. So I'm high on this card's potential.
Okay. Fire Nation Occupation.
Bars.
2 and a black. What's up?
Bars, bro. Rhymes.
Fire Nation Occupation. Yeah. When this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 red soldier token with Firebending 1. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, create a 2/2 red soldier with Firebending 1. Okay, Phil. Got your black token generator here?
So it's a black token generator that's not gated once per turn. So whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, you just make a 2/2. And it ETBs and makes a 2/2. And those 2/2s are producing mana. Granted, that's Firebending mana that has to be spent in combat. But, like, again, this card's way too slow for the current format. But, like, if the format were to slow down, having a 2/2 engine maker that every time you do anything on your opponent's turn, it's making an additional 2/2. Like, there have been many a thing in the past where, like, if you can turn your otherwise, like, cantripping style, whatever, anything, into tacking on another effect that is valuable, like making a 2/2, those things have high payoffs.
Flavor fail on this being a black card called Fire Nation Occupation being called black.
The format can't end on turn 2 constantly, but,
All right. Ba Sing Se is a land. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a basic. Tap for green mana. Tap 2, this card, and a green. Earthbend 2, activate only as a sorcery. It makes it turns a land into a guy.
Including this, it's 4 mana to Earthbend 2. It's not 4 mana to turn something into a guy. It's a 4 mana enabler to Earthbend, my dude.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, then you could sack your land and get another land and just get all your lands out over the course of a very long game. This is basically, Phil, it is thawing glaciers.
Well, let's say like if you earth bent something and then crop rotated it and it retriggered and then you got this and then put that back on the table and then you have anything
Yeah,
that
there
says,
you go.
if there's any if you have any card that says sacrifice a permanent, sacrifice a land, you're just like,
All
oh,
right.
you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to earth bend something every turn, and then my Knight of
Yeah,
the Reliquary is
get
going to
more
sack the
rectangles.
earth bent card that's going to come back and tutor something, and now I have wasted no resources and I'm just going to tutor my deck every single turn, and then people can play their fucking Wan Shi Tong librarians and get them.
Yeah. Finally, we have Fire Nation Palace. It's a land. It does enter the battlefield tapped unless you control a basic land. Tap for red. 1 in a red and tap this. Create target creature you control gains Firebending 4 until end turn. So basically, for the low cost of 3 mana, when a creature you control attacks, you gain 4 mana. That's it. Okay.
I have nothing to add.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you on the flip. Yeah, well, I mean, those are the cards. There's some interesting stuff in here, and I didn't hate all of them. As far as the look and the feel of the game is concerned, it feels like it's okay. We'll have to see. Thanks for watching, and if you can support us on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/EternalDurdles and get all of these episodes free of ads. We'll catch you on the flip.
Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help sustain the legacy content ecosystem. Just subscribe to this channel goes a long way to reminding YouTube that people love and support this format. Now, if you really want to go the extra mile, you should think about supporting us through Patreon. Both the links for subscription and Patreon are right here. And if you're listening on an audio format, you can go to patreon.com/EternalDurdles. Thanks so much for watching.